So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Zoltán Kiss, and I'm the R&D head of our company Endrich in Germany. And I'd like to talk about IoT ecosystem that we have created in order to support engineers being active on this market segment. So I'd like to just show a little bit what we are capable to do together with you and what we support. We would like to make some devices smart, some conventional devices smart by means connecting them to the internet to collect their sensors data and to support a predictive maintenance. So first of all, of course, if you want to make conventional devices smart, we have to put a lot of sensors into these machines. And by collecting this sensor data and somehow getting them to the cloud database, we can carry out some kind of artificial intelligence actions that can support, for instance, predictive maintenance. We can visualize this data based on the visualization and based on the data analysis. We can make some kind of actions like, for instance, predictive maintenance. So that's the idea that we have, that we had in mind when we set up this environment. And just as an example, before I go into details, I just like to pick up a live situation. Some of our customers have contacted us that they would like to have a connected device out of their air purifier. So during the COVID pandemic, it was very often a requirement to have an air cleaning system. Air cleaning system is usually working with UVC LEDs inside, and everyone knows that UVC LEDs, they are wearing out quite quickly, and we don't see that. I mean, this light is not something for your eyes, so because it's hurting you, it's damaging the eye, so it's encapsulated, you don't see that. So we need to have a kind of sensor that shows the intensity of the light, otherwise our device probably not even effective enough, and we don't know about it. So to make such a device smart, you need to have kind of sensor, and this data has to be somehow converted to the database, to the cloud database, and somehow has to be evaluated in order to predict the need of the maintenance. So normally a device like this works quite normal, no problem at all. It is doing his job, but without the possibility of predicting the wearing out of the components, such as the UVC LED or the stuck status of the filters, you will have to have a service network which costs a hell of money, because you have to have a 7/24 operation for these devices, and to provide this, you need a service network costing a hell of money. And this money we can spare when we add IoT to this device, when we add sensors, when we add a microcontroller that collects the sensor data, and a communication that can send these sensors data into the database. So if you add IoT and a little bit of artificial intelligence, at least a kind of visibility of the data, you can achieve a much smarter system. You can achieve the visibility of the possible wearing out of the spare parts of the components, and you would have at the end of the day a much cheaper, a much more reliable solution. You would have a smart device. So we converted the smart device by means of applying sensors, applying communication, and applying a database around it. And of course, with this way, we can save a lot of money. And of course, we know that for CEOs, money talks. So if we can provide this kind of solutions as engineers, we will save a lot of money for the end users. So this is going to be the concept I'm going to talk about today. Before doing that, I just want to tell you what we have done as Endrich. So we did a complete test environment, a kind of IoT solution which is based on open source technologies. So we will show today to you how to make a connected device, how to apply sensors, how to use the data, and how to transfer this data to the cloud database using GSM-based solutions, meaning NB-IoT and CAT-M. This ecosystem will be free for engineers, so you can use it by yourselves. You can have the hardware elements as well as software services free of use. So this is a kind of educational and also supporting system for engineers being active on the IoT field. So just to define what IoT devices are about. So of course, everything starts with sensors. In order to make something smart, you need to know the data. You need some detection components, some sensors to collect the data. And of course, collection of the data, sensor is not enough. You have to have some kind of control device, microcontroller, which not only controls the sensors, but also controls the communication, which is done usually by some GSM or some other low-power wide area networking protocols. And of course, you need a kind of database, a kind of cloud database, which will then collect all this data and can create the big data, the mass of data of the sensors. And of course, once you have this database, you have to have either a display possibility or a kind of data analysis tool. We also provide this kind of tools by means of free services and also paid services from our partner companies. So once, if you want to make an IoT ecosystem, once you have to make hardware adjustments, you have to have some hardware for it, and also you have to have some software services. These two services are necessary to have a well-working IoT infrastructure. So who we are. It was a long talk before the real interaction. Endrich is a German distributor company, so we are active on the distribution market since ages. We are this year celebrating our 46th anniversary. We are in top 10 distributors in Europe, but not comparable with the big guys like the broadband distributors, broadliners like Aero, Avnet. We are more on the technical side, so we do designing activities together with our companies, with our clients. So we do not come to the companies when they are already in mass production status. We come when they are in the idea phase. So we help design. So we are all engineers or physicists or technical people, also in the sales field. You can see I'm the export manager of the company. In the meantime, also the R&D manager. So we are very close. We closing the gap between sales and technical people. Why IoT? We just started also our own product development like 3 years ago. We are running this R&D, this internal product development. And why we have chosen IoT is because we had dedicated ourselves, engaged on the IoT field already many decades ago by having a very wide range of sensors, very wide range of microcontrollers, as well as communication devices. So we had once the components. Now we wanted also to have a system out of them. And so based on these components, we already declared ourselves as a major player in the IoT field. But what we missed in the past was a complete ecosystem, was a kind of need to have a kind of hardware evaluation system that we can show how these components work together, forming an IoT solution, and we also did not have the software behind it. So in the last 2 years, using the pandemic, using the inability to visit customers, we turned into R&D and mainly research activities. So by now we have created a system which will help to everyone in order to enter to this market. So what we have created by means of hardware as a root of the concept was a single board computer which based on a RISC-V microcontroller architecture, and this be made as an open concept. So if somebody is interested, we can disclose all the drawings, all the circuit diagrams, all the software components, so everything you can copy, you can use, and we can support you with the major components, because all the major components on this board are from our suppliers. So we as a distributor are distributing these components as well. And of course we created a kind of external peripheral family which consists of different kind of I2C, SPI, interface, the external sensor boards, display boards, and so on. We even have created now a wireless sensor local network, which I will talk a little bit in details later. And we made also now, as derivative products from these root concepts, some telemetry boards, which are supporting the Industry 4.0, and also we made gateways between local networks, local wireless and wired networks, and the internet, and the GSM networks. And we also made a kind of environmental device, which we call a city box. So we have a slogan for the predictive maintenance that we make your device smart, and for the environmental protection that we do care of environment. So these are the two slogans that we started the development around, and we created these kind of products, which I will of course detail a bit later. So the software components which we have, and partially these are free of cost for our customers, is of course a cloud database service. It's a Endrich cloud database service. This is a free service. You or your designers can use this database to place your data during the development. And of course, if you don't wish to use later some paid services, then we also offer this in the operational time of your products. Of course, we have a basic visualization. It is an internet-based visualization service that at least 8 of your sensors in the same time could be looked at on a smart device screen, real time. So that's our basic service. A little bit of customization is possible, so you can change the Endrich logo to your own logo, for instance, or the pictures down there, you can change to your own pictures, so you can use it as a tool to your customers. We also have an Apple application, so an Apple iOS 14 app right now for the same purpose, which I will also talk a little bit about. And we created also an API, application programming interface, to get your data. So these software services together with an external services that we offer to our customers involving our partners, these are of course paid services, create a software ecosystem behind our hardware ecosystem. So with these we have a complete test ecosystem that our customers can use. Of course, we have a lot of documentation available and references available. The most important one, of course, it's our E-IoT.info website, which is all about this E-IoT ecosystem, and this documentation is available also in an ebook format. Some of you, if you are interested, I have a few copies on our booth, which is just 10 meters or 15 meters from here, so if you come after the presentation, I can give you a few pieces. If not, then I can send it to you later. We have our own YouTube channel in the Budapest R&D office, because I didn't tell that our R&D is located in Budapest in Hungary. We have this dedicated IoT website. Now I would like to go into the hardware, into deep details of the hardware development that we have done. So first of all, this was the root concept, the IoT board that I showed you before. This is a single board computer, as I told you, having all IoT functions integrated. So the first and the most important, one of the most important things is the sensors. So it has 7 different sensors on board, such as Hall sensors for magnetic field detection, ambient light sensors, temperature sensor, a kind of MEMS microphone to measure the ambient noise level, and these kind of basic sensors. We have a microcontroller on it. We chosen our supplier's Giga device, 32-bit RISC-V architecture microcontroller. This was a winner of the competition Embedded World 2020, so we have chosen this product to also show the capabilities of the RISC-V architecture to the engineering society. And we have also a communication on board by means of a GSM modem working on a special bandwidth. So it's using the narrowband IoT. Maybe some of you are not really aware of what is the advantage of narrowband communication. So all major providers are offering this kind of machine-to-machine protocols. Usually, if you want to have a normal LTE SIM card, you pay like €10 per month as a fee. For narrowband IoT, which is, as its names also says, it is using only narrow bandwidths, which means that you cannot transfer huge data. You should not needed also, because if you just want to send temperature, then a few bytes is enough. So these kind of prepaid narrowband SIM cards costing €10 for 10 years, offering a 100 megabyte data package. So this is usually for a smart temperature sensor or a bench of sensors is enough for 10 years. So it's only one time paid, and for the whole lifetime of the product, this will be done. So you don't have to carry about the telecommunication costs. That's why we have chosen this technology on board. The modem itself offers you the fallback to 2G if it's necessary, so it supports narrowband IoT cut-M or LTE-M, as well as 2G fallback possibility. Of course, the detailed documentation, as I mentioned to you, available free of charge. So you can even build yourself this, or you can build something like this based on this information. So this is doing the sensor and the MCU plus gateway in one product. We also have some peripherals around it, and of course, as I mentioned, we are only using our own components on it, so all major components are from us. So just quickly going through these, you can see that, but anyway, this presentation will be public, so you can see it in details. Everything is from us. So every component we can also support you with, support the designers with. So just quickly go through what we have on board. It's a lot, in fact. So we also did external peripherals board. So if you have a demand to have a sensor which is not on board, we can also develop a kind of external board which are connected either I2C or SPI interface. Of course, these are just holding the sensors and the basic wired communication between the IoT board and the sensor. And we also developed the software part of the complete ecosystem. So software means the server. So the customer devices can send the data into the server, and they can later, the users can retrieve the data of their own devices. So this data storage is done, but of course you have to do something with this data. Everybody can analyze the data by himself, but we also offer a free of charge display possibilities, a kind of visualization by means of the already shown app. Here you can see, here you can see 8 sensors data simultaneously. You can choose which data you want to show where. We have some historical data in a format of graphs, and we have also static data possibility to show. So this is the very first hardware which we have created. This is what we have on board. But we want to do final products. We want to make your products together with you, so we would like to use it as a kind of development platform. So for user-specific devices, for user-specific functions, we can export to external boards. So we made it in a format of stackable boards. So the basic board for the communication and for the control will be always our IoT board. But we can create together for the customer-specific functions an external board, a kind of shield that you can put on it. And with this, you have a model of your end device. And before we develop the final product, you can already start working on your software, for instance. You can test everything, and by the time we finalize all the functions, you have your software ready. So the only thing which remains then is to make, after the fully functioning model, we have to make the miniaturization, we have to make it ready for approvals, but it will be much faster to develop on this model than to wait until the finished product is done and then starting to strip functions, add functions. So that's the idea, to make it as a customized hardware development model. What else we can do? So we have, as I mentioned to you, we have added to this IoT board family, to all members of this family, a possibility to make a wired local network of external sensors. So of course we use as main platform I2C. It's board-to-board connections, so Normally, for a few 10 centimeters, this would work. But it is not enough for us because we have a lot of use cases where you need a higher distance between the sensor board, external sensor board, and the major board. Like in a truck, for instance, if you have to have the board in the cockpit, but you have to have a temperature sensor in the back of the truck, then you need often 30 meters. So we have used a new version of I2C. We boosted the I2C and we extended the range to up to 50 meters. So we have a solution on both on the sensor boards as well as on the major board. We have a possibility to use this kind of boosted I2C interface. So we can really use as a data collector, as a kind of gateway between the GSM and the local network, our IoT board, and we can have all our sensors connected, wired, up to 50 meters of distance from this board via I2C. And we also developed some kind of display boards which can be also put on this I2C chain, or can be also use an external SPI interface near to the board. Of course, when you have a wired network of sensors, sometimes you cannot do it. You are unable to make wires in an industrial environment. When you have to monitor machines, working machines, then it's not possible to use wired internet or wired local network, sorry, of sensors. In these cases, you need to use some kind of VLAN solutions. Of course, it would be obvious to employ such things like Bluetooth or Zigbee or Wi-Fi, but those platforms are based on 2.4 gigahertz, which is not really friendly in an environment like industry or harsh environments like buildings, like factories. So we have to choose some kind of sub-gigahertz technology. So what we have figured out is that we would use a kind of new technology. It's called the NeoMesh. There's a company called NeoCortec who is offering small modems having their own IP on it and having a mesh networking possibility called NeoMesh. So these boards that we developed are working with a CR2032 button batteries. So it's very easy to employ them. A board is like 2 by 3 centimeters, so quite small. You can have several sensors on it, and the communication towards the board is easy. We just made the tests. We can do 18,500 measurements with one single battery. So if you do a temperature sensors per hour, once data per hour, then it would be enough more than 2 years with the one battery. So you don't have to replace the battery very often. And of course, employing a bigger battery behind, you can multiply this time, this service time. What we have here is we integrated several different sensors in the local I2C network on the board, and you can choose which one you want to use. These are forming, these cards, these boards are forming a mesh network. This means that they are not only endpoints, but also routers or repeaters in the network. So this means that any of the boards can communicate with the nearest one or even more nearest ones in the network. So this means that you can, because you can have in one network, ideally 65,000 devices, we can have a really large network, and physically can be even a kilometer range if there is enough boards inside. The operational distance between two boards is around 100 meters in line of sight, and even if there are walls in between, the 50 meters is a general distance between two boards. So you can imagine that you can really create a huge network, wireless network of local network of sensors by using these kind of technologies. And then you need only one board, which would then be acting as a gateway, one board of our IoT board family that has also this NeoMesh modem on, and on the other side it can have a gateway functionality towards the GSM network. So this is this gateway is the new Endrich smartboard that we just shown here first time in this exhibition, and we will show it next week on Electronica in Munich. So this will be the debuting of this board. Regarding the software development, of course, as I mentioned to you, we have our own cloud. And for this cloud, at the moment, we require our customers to use the UDP protocol as an easy IoT protocol, but we also give the support of MQTT. If somebody wants to use a bidirectional communication, we also offer the possibility to connect via MQTT. And of course, we expect a certain format of GSON string with your sensors data. That's the only requirement that we have. And we will provide the data back also in the GSON format through our API. What software services we have? Of course, we have a layer of software running on the boards. These are the embedded softwares. And for the IoT board, for the root family member, we disclosed all these so you can have them free of charge. So these are our service. So we have these many different kind of embedded software, so each and every member of the family has his own board. We have another layer of software, which is the cloud server. It has an administration layer and also a data exception layer. So we have port listeners that are listening to certain UDP ports or MQTT ports and waiting for the device data. Then we have a user management interface, and also we have a database server layer programmed where you have administration tool where the users can make their devices, can register the devices. We have also a kind of visual gateway that I already showed to you. We have as a new service our app, our iPhone app for visualization. We have an admin tool to get your data in an Excel format out. We have here the IoT sensor API, where you can get your data out in a JSON string, so your software can integrate this function and you can read out our database from your own software. So what we do is that for the hardware, we make the sample code available for this board, for this first board, completely, that you know how to write such softwares. And also we offer the second layer services free of charge. Of course, we don't disclose here the source code, but you can use it as a free service. So the standard visualization software is just like this, as I mentioned, so that all the different kind of sensor data have dedicated area on the screen, and this can be customized by the users in the administration tool. We also offer the app, the Apple app for that, and not only for visualization of the data, but also as a knowledge base. We created that. So in this app, you will have a complete guide of our E-IoT infrastructure. So the hardware and software manual will be there, so you can use this as an online knowledge base tool. We have a lot of video tutorials on it, and also I have a book. Every year we print a book of my publications in several medias in Europe, and the complete book is also available in this app. And of course, we have created an visualization gateway. We have one of these demo boards, and for that we created a visualization interface in the app that you can see here. It's the same, pretty much the same format as you could see on the internet version, but it's just an app. So if somebody likes apps better than to go on the net. Last but not least, I want to show you some professional services that we can also offer. These are paid services. We have professional dashboard softwares to develop, so we can use technologies like the 3D augmented reality environment. So you can have your sensors visualized in a 3D environment. You can walk around and you can read the sensor data like you see on the screen. We can have different kind of dashboards with to support predictive maintenance, to calculate most possible data in future. So kind of data forecast predictions can be done by means of extrapolations of the data. We can use them for early warnings, and these are some demos that we develop for our customers. If you wish to use your devices, you can also show them there. These are just easy three-dimensional things that you can move yourself. These are based on those kind of platforms that the game softwares are doing. So it's pretty much the same as a game software, but using for professional purposes. So you can walk around in your manufacturing hall and you can just see the sensor readings of your machines. Some of the application examples. So a very stupid example, but it's a real problem I had. I have a son who is at home, but he never listens if the postman is ringing the bell. And that's causing a problem for me because I order a lot from AliExpress and for all these sources. And every evening when I get home, my first route is to the post office. I'm standing there in a queue of 1 hour just to get my package because my son, who's always into his computer and always having a headphone on the head, he never wants to go and let the postman in. And being an engineer, of course, I have to have a solution. At first, I could beat my son, but it's not so popular in my country. So instead of beating my son, I just took our IoT board and put an easy sensor, a switch to it. And every time when the postman is ringing the door, then I get or my son gets an SMS to his phone, and hey, please move your ass and collect the package from the postman. And finally, I could really reach that he can sometimes look up from his phone. So this was really a big success story. Of course, this is a system which is kidding, but if you just extrapolate a bit, what it is an NB-IoT push button, and that you can use already in many, many applications, like, for instance, just a few applications that I collected from the net, a kind of help button, kind of NB-IoT alarm button that you can use. You can use it for in a restaurant for a caller, for the waiter, for the bill. Even telecom has his own solution for that. It's all based on narrowband IoT communications, or what we could do with our solutions as well. So you really can see a lot of live examples for an NB-IoT button switch. This is one of the application examples. Another one is the so-called city box that I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. And this was the environmental sensor board that we have. Saying some of the local governments would like to know about the air quality of their cities. So we just made a board with a lot of air quality sensors. So we have several sensors like for instance the particle matter sensors, that we know exactly what size of particles are in which concentration in the air. Then we have CO2 sensor, NOx sensor, kind of sulfur sensors, and of course temperature, humidity, and all the things that are needed, ozone that are needed to be monitored. So of course this board is done with a rechargeable battery that it can survive the night, because it's powered by a PV panel. So during the day the PV panel gives the power, during the night the already charged battery gives the power, so it provides a 7/24 operation for this board. So we just put it on a light pole and it's doing its job for years without touching it, and sending all the important environmental air quality data to the central. So this is one of the examples that we did, and these are the readouts coming from the central database. So our first one was, so this one was sorry, just have to find the right buttons. So these ones were the energetic conditions, so how much the battery is charged, what is the charge current of the PV panels. So these are the operational parameters of the device, and these are the environmental parameters that it provides. So that's another example. So you can see here is the few pieces of the boards that we placed on our company. So this gentleman on the left corner is our 85 years old owner. So he established our company, still very active, and now he's playing with these kind of tools instead of making money with components like he did in the last 45 years. Then we have a nice tool which we made also available here. We have a mojito dispenser, so we just would like to offer you free mojito. And what we have done, we put a lot of sensors in because we like to play with this all the time. So you can have your mobile phone, you can scan a QR code, and wherever you are here, you will see how much mojito we still have in the container and what is the temperature of it, so you can come and drink. It was just made as a little fun, but it was probably the most important thing here in the fair in these 2 days. So most people were checking this and not our solutions. But anyway, this is also based on our solutions, so we are happy about it. Some of the references that we have, of course, we have a complete functional description. This will be printed as a book next year, so if one of you would like to have it, you will see my address and then you can request it. But at the moment, this is available only electronical format. It's a complete hardware and software guide, and then we made it also available online on the e-iot.info website. We have also a book. This, even if you are interested in electronical white papers, you can have a few copies we still have in the booth. So if you would like to come, you can collect your device, your own copy. And we have also an online version of this book. So these are the references when you can read about all these technologies that I mentioned to you. And as a summary, I would just like to quickly say that we have all the components what we can use for developing your own IoT solution. We can give you the know-how, how to connect them, how to use them, and also we give you a complete test ecosystem that you can test it. So you get the free reference designs, you can have a free services, you can get a complete evaluation platform, you can get your own tailor-made hardware and software solutions from us. And as the documentation regards, as I told you, we have the e-book, we have the internet site. You can have, still I have a few copies of this e-book on a USB stick, which also contains the book series that we have. So we really have a lot of things. So a little bit about the results that we achieved in the last 2 years with that. You can see that our system was on a cover page of several magazines in Europe. So we have more than 100 publications about this system in the last 2 years. We made like more than 10 interviews. We had podcasts, even in some countries, TV presence with this in different kind of technological shows. And we made a big roadshow consisting of at least 10 exhibitions and conferences in the last 2 years, from England to France and to Eastern Europe, a lot in Germany, of course. And this resulted in some prizes also that we won already, several prizes. One is, it was in Hungary. This was in 2020 when we debuted with this system. We won the Industry Days Exhibition Grand Prix with that. This year we were very happy to win the German Innovation Award with this system. And also another Hungarian fair gave us also the Grand Prix. And we just hope to continue. And just 1 month ago in Eastern Europe, in Bulgaria, we got the golden medal of the Plovdiv International Trade Fair. So we were very happy with these results. But what makes us more happy, if you guys, our customers, are happy and we can make developments together with you, that would make sense and that would make us really, really, really happy. And we would show us that what we do is not for nothing. So I'd like to thank you for your attention. I think we have a couple of minutes. I can answer questions if you wish to, or we would like to invite you to our booth when we can show all these things in operation. You see my direct mail, so you can contact me or my colleagues, and I would be very happy to answer to any of your questions. Thank you for the attention. So, any questions now, or? Then, if not, then I would like to invite you to our booth, where we still have some mojito, and thanks again for your attention.